What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Ignore the Giants hat. Listen, I can't find my LSU stuff right now, but listen, I wanted to cover this. Pretty much my investment in this game was into the LSU players, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, all those guys, and I'm also a huge fan of Justin Herbert, of Rashawn Slater, of a ton of guys on the Chargers too. So I was excited to see this game. Of course, I still was rooting for the Bengals side. And I just want to go over. It was a really exciting game to me. The Bengals ended up making mistakes that pretty much cost them the game. Huge mistakes. The hugest mistakes that pop into my head. The first one was this is pretty much a walk-in touchdown by Jamar Chase, and he drops the ball. Not only does he drops it, but he fumbles it, throws it up in the air, and it gets intercepted. So that goes from the game being. I think that the Bengals would have probably trailed by about 7 or 8 points or something around that. It ended up making the Bengals have to go down about 22 points because they didn't score until they got until the Chargers got to 24 points. So yeah, they ended up being down 24. The Bengals, they didn't get out of it. They didn't give up at that point. They rattled off 22 straight points. Joe Burrow messes up his finger. His pinky was literally bent like this way, like facing that way. It looked ridiculous. I don't know how he came back and still threw the ball, but he did, and it was crazy to see. I mean, the dude's pinky was really bent out of shape. Meanwhile, Justin Herbert was putting on the clinic. Him and Mike Williams were pretty much doing whatever they wanted to do throughout the game. Eckler didn't have the hugest game, but he didn't touch the ball a bunch. He did have that touchdown, made a couple of nice catches, 5 for 5. Don't think he got a receiving touchdown. No, that was yeah, he didn't get a receiving touchdown, but the Chargers pretty much moved the ball pretty well most of the night. They did have that drought where they didn't get a first down. Pretty much halfway through the third quarter, they didn't get a first down. They allowed the Bengals to score 22 straight points, and they didn't score after that which is crazy. But again, the that big fumble by Joe Mixon to add on to the second huge mistake that the Bengals made, that cost the Bengals the game. All the momentum was gone. Everything was gone after you fumble that ball. And not only is it a fumble, and pretty much like an unforced fumble, he just kind of just dropped it. Not only is that a fumble, they also run it back for 6 the other way. So that pretty much was ball game for me. That put them down by I think it was they put them down by 2 possessions at that point. So the game at that point was over because Joe Mixon kind of fumbled the game away, and it was just tough for them to get back into the game. They were kind of forcing things. I think when Joe Burrow had that injury and he still came back out there and was still making throws, still throwing for first down, still hitting guys on the sideline. He had one nice rainbow throw on the left side of the field that was really nice. But him coming back gave the Bengals a lot of momentum, and they really started to feel like they could come back and win that game. But once Joe Mixon went out there and fumbled the ball, and they ended up going for 6 the other way, I felt like that was a wrap. The Bengals were kind of out of it. They just kind of said, listen, it's not our day. But they fought. T. Higgins had a monster game. Jamar Chase should have had a much better game, but he had way too many drops. I'm looking at this. It doesn't tell me the drops, but I'm sure he had at least 2 or 3 drops today. Not the best game today from him. But T Higgins definitely showed up. Joe Burrow, I would definitely say showed up. The interception, he wasn't his fault. That second one, you can blame injury. You can say, he's fighting through that injury, but it was a bad decision. Either way, it was a bad decision. That was a tough interception, but at the end of the day, that the game was over at that point in my head. But two really good young quarterbacks who I think are going to play against each other a lot more in their careers. It's going to be a pretty good rivalry. I'm not sure about what the result of that was last year. I'm not sure. I think they didn't play last year. I think that was a Tyrod Taylor game last year. So this might have been their first meeting. I'm pretty sure it was. So I guess you can say Justin Herbert is 1-0 right now. I'll give him a legit 1-0 because Joe Burrow came back into the game, had plenty of chances to go out and get that win, and he just couldn't get it done. So Justin Herbert is 1-0. When you look at these two teams, I think these two teams are teams that have kind of the Bengals and the Chargers, when you look at them, they've never been like the worst teams in the league. I guess the Bengals had to be because they got the first pick. But these teams over like the last, 15 years, they've been pretty decent teams. They've been teams that have been competitive. They've been those teams between 7 and 9 and a little, sometimes a little bit more wins, sometimes a little bit less, but they haven't been the worst of the worst teams consistently every year. So to watch these teams that are kind of going from those like obscure, middle of the pack, kind of not huge fan base teams to finally get in. Like, I believe this should have been a primetime game. I believe that both of these teams and both of these young quarterbacks are worthy of this being a primetime game. And I'm not sure why it wasn't, or at least a 425 game. Let's just check the schedule before I just, put my foot in my mouth. Let's see what else what's at 4 o'clock today. We got the Jags and the Rams. No, that's nowhere. It's near exciting. Ravens and the Steelers. Sure, I guess they were in the same network. I couldn't tell you, but I really believe that this level, this caliber of a game should have been a 425 or 8 o'clock game, whether it be Sunday, Monday, Thursday. And it's just cool to see these two teams elevate and become, some more of the most exciting teams to watch, because before Joe Burrow got to the Bengals, before Justin Herbert got to the Chargers, to be honest with you, I was not interested in either one of these teams. They just weren't all that exciting. I mean, you had the years with AJ Green. They put up some points a couple of times, but it just really feels like these two quarterbacks are going to be quasi just, faces of the league going forward. I mean, Tom Brady is going to play forever, but besides him, you got those two. You got Kyler Murray, you got Mahomes, you got a couple of nice young guys, Lamar Jackson. But as far as the teams that haven't really been that prominent, they haven't been, I guess they haven't been in a Super Bowl lately at all. I'm thinking that one of these teams will probably get there soon. I'm a believer in Joe Burrow. I think that he's got that it factor. I believe he probably should have come back today if it wasn't for that fumble and if it wasn't for that interception. But things happen. And again, both of these players are going to have really good careers, in my opinion. So just to go over some of the overarching stats, as far as time of possession, 31-28, the Bengals won. That's about right. The turnovers killed them. Definitely. More rushing yards, less passing yards by 20. That's not including sacks. The Bengals and the Chargers offensive line, and the Chargers offensive line in the third quarter definitely collapsed. And in the fourth quarter, it seemed like the Bengals could not pass protect, even without Joey Burrow in the game, or even without Joey Bosa in the game. The Bengals offensive line still could not pass protect. They sent blitzes, they sent four, and whatever they did, they just got through. Just the same way that the Bengals did in the third quarter. Both defensive lines really made their presence felt. But again, the Bengals had 6 sacks. The Chargers had 4. Total plays, the Bengals ran 10 more. The Bengals had 4 turnovers. The Chargers had 3. Two like crazy games from both sides. Two kind of sloppy games from both sides, to be honest with you. And exciting game for the most part. I would say that from what I've seen in the 1 o'clock games, this probably was the game. I wouldn't say if it's the game of the week. That's probably that probably would go to the Lions and Vikings. But I would say, even though the Chargers ended up pulling away at the end, it pretty much was an exciting game from like second quarter, third quarter, into like the middle of the fourth quarter. So if you made it this deep into the video, I'm happy that I'm finally having time and the energy to do some more content besides just the Giants. Look out for the content if you're a Bengals, if you're a Chargers fan. I will be putting out more content like this. And congrats to the Chargers fans, and good luck to both teams going forward.